23. 1 out of 2,706. I woke up. The airplane was shaking. There was a voice speaking in a different language on the loudspeaker. Then it quickly switched to a different language. I had no idea what was going on as I came out of my long nap. The airplane came to a complete stop. I had arrived in South Korea. There were government agents waiting for us. "Please go this way." They said please, but clearly there was no choice. "Get on the bus." That command was clear. Our first stop in South Korea was at the cafeteria at the National Intelligence Service, NIS, building. I saw many North Koreans there wearing the same yellow uniform. I didn't know it at the time, but the 3 years that my mom spent trying to rescue me were the years when the most North Korean refugees escaped to South Korea. In 2009, more than 2,900 North Korean refugees made it to South Korea. The next year, it dropped to 2,400. I was one of the 2,706 North Korean refugees who made it to South Korea in 2011. I arrived on May 20th, Mom's birthday. The next year, the new dictator of North Korea cracked down on escapees. Only 1,502 North Korean refugees made it to South Korea in 2012. It would have been much more difficult to escape the following year if I had waited. I was a newcomer again, getting stared at by the North Korean refugees who had already previously arrived. We sat in another room, put our bags down, then lined up to have lunch. It was the first great meal I had been able to have in a long time. There were so many side dishes. "This is the rice I want." I had a big smile on my face. The rice I had eaten in the jail in Thailand didn't taste good. But in South Korea, at the NIS, the rice was fantastic. I was hungry and the food looked so yummy, but I was a bit dizzy, so I couldn't eat much. After lunch, I had a health check. I was 17 and shy. I had never gone through that kind of examination before. The NIS agent gave me a cup. I looked at her, not sure what she wanted me to do with it. She told me, "Pee in it." "Pee?" "Yes, pee." My face turned red. There were others who could hear our conversation. The agent said, "This is normal. South Koreans do this." "But I feel uncomfortable," I said, whispering impatiently to her. "There are so many people here, and you are talking so loudly." The agent wasn't about to give up. I tried to evade the urine test, telling the agent that I had already used the bathroom. The agent was ready for this evasion, telling me that if I drank some water, that I would be able to pee soon. Recognizing that I wasn't going to win this battle, I went to the bathroom. When I came back, I tried to conceal the cup. I handed it to the agent, hoping that no one would see it. A few minutes later, someone called out, "Han Songmi!" It was time for my first ever blood test. When I was in North Korea, I had learned that blood was important. I asked, "Is it okay that you took so much blood?" I learned that my blood type was O positive. 30 minutes later, they gave us large nameplates. An NIS agent asked me, "Are you on your period now?" I reached up to cover the agent's mouth. "Please whisper. So many people here can hear you. In North Korea, we don't talk about this kind of thing." The agent responded, "It is natural to be on your period. You are not in North Korea anymore. You can be at ease here." I felt uncomfortable. I could see that things were going to be different in South Korea. The girl behind me was a skinny 15-year-old. She got a pink nameplate, meaning that she was pregnant. She had been one of my classmates when we were in jail in Thailand. I learned that the girl had escaped with her 14-year-old sister. The church pastor in China who helped rescue her had gotten her pregnant. I had another reason to be thankful that my mom had arranged my escape. There had been so much excitement about arriving in South Korea. After that, we were isolated. I slept alone in a small, bare room. Mom was right again. I was going to undergo a very serious interrogation. Mom told me, "Just tell them the truth. Don't lie. Whatever you remember, just tell them." She had also told me not to be scared, but I couldn't help feeling so nervous. The person who was interviewed before me said it was terrible, that it was much worse than Thailand, and that the NIS agents checked everything. On May 27th, 2011, 1 week after arriving in South Korea, I was led to the investigation room where a female investigator was waiting for me. I was going to be reunited with my mom, but my introduction to South Korea scared me. I had no expectations when it came to the way I was treated in North Korea because I knew I wasn't important there. I wasn't a spy, but I was starting to feel like I was guilty of something, like I was back at a self-criticism session in North Korea. The female inspector was nice, and her voice was gentle, but she was strict and watching me closely. She asked me many questions. I could see that the agent was an expert on North Korea. She knew more about North Korea than I did. She had studied it down to the street level. Not only was the agent an expert on North Korea, but she seemed to be an expert on me. She knew everything I had said in Thailand, and she was checking for inconsistencies while probing for new information. Where was your home? How old are you? Where are the places that you lived? Every answer had follow-up questions asked from various angles. She interrogated me for several hours that first day. I got tired and dizzy, but I felt like I couldn't make a single mistake. I had arrived in a free country, but I was exhausted and couldn't relax yet. "Okay, you are done for today. You will need to stay here for 1 week. We will give you some paper for you to write more about your life." I had learned Korean as it was spoken, not as it was written. This felt like the first big homework assignment of my life. Dinner time was at 6 p.m., but I wasn't hungry. I did not feel good and thought, I am not a spy. I struggled so hard to get here, but I am made to feel like I am a spy. I could understand why such an interrogation was necessary. Still, it felt like a punch to the face. There wasn't anything in the room I stayed in. At that moment, I felt more isolated than I had been in North Korea. There was no TV, and I couldn't talk to anyone. As the NIS had probably planned, I could only do one thing: write. When the agent returned the next day, she wanted to check what I had done. I wrote the whole night. After reading for a few minutes, the agent asked, "You didn't go to school?" I said, "I had to work a lot. I had to survive." The agent had a serious look on her face. She carefully read everything I had written. I waited in silence. The agent asked personal questions, probing deeply. "When did your mother and father separate and divorce? Where was your aunt's house? What is near your aunt's house? Can you describe what was on the left and right of it? Can you talk in detail about the area behind the house? What's the name of the river there? The questions seemed to be endless. I had never been on the internet and was amazed when the agent showed me the most incredible thing, Google Earth. Can you find your house here? The agent zoomed in. My goodness, this is my house. It was amazing, but also unnerving that they could pinpoint my house. I could understand why Mom had told me to tell the truth about everything. They were checking every detail. Any lies would eventually be caught. You mentioned a place where some blind people worked. Who lived behind that place? For the first time, I did not respond immediately. Why are you asking that? You should answer, the agent said, firmly and flatly. I described the family of a mom and her son. They had always been watching and spying on me, checking what I was doing, where I was going, and even what I was eating. I was angry because I suspected they were the ones who informed the police that I had gone missing from my aunt's house. Now I felt like this agent might see me as a spy if I talked about others monitoring me. I remembered what my mom had said. Just tell the truth. I had nothing to hide. I was another step closer to being reunited with my mom. Not everyone got through the investigation as smoothly as I had. Another lady had to take a polygraph test and met with investigators for more than 2 weeks. One man was there for a month. Everything was serious at NIS. Every day had been like a war at the jail in Thailand, but there were no fights at NIS. The mood was so serious when dealing with the tall agents dressed in black and armed with guns. Freed from their questions, I had a new issue. I was gaining weight. I weighed 85 pounds when I escaped. I was always working, so I hadn't known what it was like to be overweight. But at the NIS, I was sitting around. I did one main thing: eat. I gained more than 20 pounds during my time there. Many North Koreans gained a lot of weight during their stay at the NIS. The NIS had a solution. "Look at you guys," said the exercise leader, pointing at me. He said, "You are too short and fat. You look like a soccer ball. If I kicked you down the street, you would roll like a ball." It was more comedy than insult. It seemed he would have talked that way even if his own mother made the mistake of going to his workout. "Everybody, on your backs. Time to do some sit-ups." I tried, but I couldn't even do one. We spent a lot of time on the treadmill. Some of us wanted to hate the exercise leader, but we were laughing too much. It was late June or early July 2011. I wiped the sleepiness out of my eyes. Then I remembered that this would be my last day at NIS. In my group of about 50, a few couldn't leave then because they had lied about various things. The rest of us were happy to say goodbye to the NIS and to the exercise leader too.